Tapping in.
Are we live?
Planning things for the homies.
Yet again. Zway?
Do you have any Valentine's Day plans, Miles Xavier?
Do I have Valentine's Day plans? Yeah. I'm gonna be chilling, making sangria at the crib, on Zoom with my lady. And I'm trying to make sure I remember every aspect of these plans. Thank you for this process, right? This is helping me right now.
The vulnerable Papa.
Big facts, man. Big facts. Man, typically sometimes when we hang out, we'll do like question games and stuff like that over Zoom, ask each other random questions about life. We'll watch movies and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll chop up some fruits and add them to some wine and see where that beautiful beverage and, our Valentine's ship takes us.
That's beautiful, man. That's absolutely beautiful. And I love to see men in love, man. Love is such a beautiful thing. Black men in love specifically, there's a certain type of swag and style that you put into it. And so, with Valentine's Day explained for the homies, we figured that this particular year, we just go ahead and look at the history behind Valentine's Day. Look at how we got to a place where we have to spend so much cash.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad that somebody's like looking into this, man. We got to unearth what the reason why. If I'm going to shell it out, and I love to shell it out. There's no better reason than love, right? For sure that. But why though? But
why is love expensive? Is the questions we're trying to answer here.
So we agreed upon this question, and we each set off to answer it. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? You tell me what you found, man.
I mean, what I found is understanding essentially what drives the need for us to be in love, and then also some of the history behind Valentine's Day as a day of celebration. And so, obviously, what they say is all of our instincts are rooted in the fundamental biological processes of the brain. So in this particular instance, the necessity for us to want to find love is predicated on the necessity for us to reproduce. And then the lust element of it, is...
I get, okay. I already love her, and that's cool. But where does the money come in? How did we start to say that this day I need to spend this money?
I'm glad you asked. So typically speaking, right? And typically speaking, the concept of a union and the concept of marriage and union and love under the biblical terms, which was what was then considered conventional, right? What would be secular would be rules of the book, and in different countries applying different rules of their books into their love stories until the 1920s, when Hollywood, the turn of Hollywood, right? And the booming of Hollywood, which was what then started promoting this concept of like a love forever. And then you look at the actual holiday day, which was a pagan holiday, which was then adopted into a pagan holiday, which was then brushed up from St. Valentine and then inserted into our celebration list.
I feel like every holiday is a pagan holiday. I feel like they say that about every holiday. I feel like they say like, oh, Christmas, that's a pagan holiday. Easter, pagan holiday.
Kwanzaa, pagan.
All holidays, pagan. What is pagan just mean holiday? What if we found that out? No.
It's pagan mean holiday.
No, it definitely does not, right? It was actually a festival called Lupercalia, right? Which was about the Roman goddess of fertility, right? So there was that, right? But then there was these two dudes. Well, it was actually one dude, I think, but some people say it was two dudes, but I think it was one dude named Valentine who got killed because he was, preaching the Christian gospel, and he did something to upset the Roman Empire, right? He either did a miracle and cured a blind person, or
No miracles here. No,
I'm
none of
giving you
that.
facts. I'm giving you facts.
One miracle maker at a time. No.
I'm, I'm giving you the facts, man. This is these are the legends, right? So they say he either cured a blind person as like a demonstration, of Christianity, and the emperor was like, "Oh, you got to get up out of here," killed him, or that he was freeing the Roman Christians from Roman prisons, and the emperor called him. It was like, "No, you got to get up out of here." Or the emperor decided that single men did made better soldiers, and they were like, "You can't get married, single man. Don't do that, young man. You got to wait till you go old and you're no longer a soldier." And then this dude Valentine was like, "No," he was still performing marriages.
No.
So some type of way, this man Valentine made this emperor mad, and the emperor had killed him. And some say the stories, as I just have described to you, had something to do with love. And so eventually, later, as you said, media starts to become popular, and there's this connection between Valentine's Day, the dude was killed on February 14th, and the mating of birds. Birds was mating in spring, and it was like, "Oh, the birds is getting together." I'm telling you, we got to do more of this research because I like how we find different things. But the birds was getting together on February 14th, and that's why people were like, "Oh, people started writing letters, and media and books popularized it. The dude who wrote Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer, included that in one of his books, right? He called somebody like his Valentine in the book. And people started using that day as an excuse to write letters to their loved ones because they figured love was in the air, springtime, Valentine's Day, February 14th, when this dude got killed, even though that's not a very romantic sentiment, but
Yeah, specifically on that case of the soldiers, right? The soldiers that were denied love, essentially. The soldiers that Valentine freed from the shackles. um,
Valentine was black, by the way.
Had to be.
I'm just throwing that out there now.
Free my G's.
Valentine Freeman. Saint Valentine Freeman.
Yo, so what I was hearing is that, what I read is that the Roman soldiers at the time they did not feel like fighting, and the emperor at the time was launching a very extended war that had been going on for years, even decades, right? Going into decades. And so the soldiers had lost steam, and a lot of the soldiers actually wanted to be back home with their families. And in an effort to stop that, like you said, they were nope. You're not allowed to be at home with your families. In fact, they even banned concubines and prostitutions for those soldiers, so that they couldn't engage in that type of thing. Prior to that same celebration period of Valentine's is that they would how do I put this? Whip a virgin is how they would say it. Is literally is how they.
I don't know what I expected was coming next, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Yeah. That's what I said when I read it too. But hey, listen, we give you the facts over here. But that is the story of it. And so it gets to the 1920s, and then Hollywood starts promising this longer outlook on love, and then that becomes the conventional ideology of what bond and the celebration of that bond is supposed to be. Insert not De Beers, but it was De Beers with the engagement ring. How did we come about buying diamonds and that type of thing? Insert De Beers with an engagement ring, and then go ahead and insert Christmas, and now we have every holiday is a purchasing holiday, essentially.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like we go from this idea of, okay, fine, love forever. Hollywood, I'm skeptical, but fine. But also, who was it that started messing up and went from this is about love and writing love letters on Valentine's Day to now you got to buy gifts? Somebody started doing too much. Somebody started sending the letter and flowers and a bear and all that type of stuff. You was doing too much, man. You see what you started? You see what you got all of us doing, man? You gotta chill.
Wish it was like the good old days. But that's what it's morphed into. That's what it's morphed into. And so now, after COVID, you're seeing a lot of people have been broken up over COVID. A lot of people are out of relationships that made it through made it through the fire, and then once the doors opened, relationships fell apart. So even this particular Valentine's Day today would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge some of the people that are going to be feeling lonely over this period of time, where you're watching performative relationships on socials, and you're feeling like, oh man, I'm lonely, isolation. Uh, you know, there is such thing as mourning and grieving the loss of a relationship with somebody that you had, especially if you had plans with that type of person. You're not just mourning them, but you're mourning the death of those plans and that mental universe that you guys have created together. And now, it's the day of love. Um, people get lonely. What I do love is that we're seeing Valentine's Day, which is dope. And we should do something for the dudes, man. What would you call it?
Uh, I'm sorry. I was just captivated. You're a sensitive dude, man. I appreciate you making space for everybody who might be
Oh,
dolo on the day,
shucks,
man. But
shucks.
yeah, man. I think it's a beautiful thing, right? To see all different types of love being celebrated, right? And just like we've seen people break away from Thanksgiving and do Friendsgiving and decide that they don't, that holiday represents whatever they want it to represent. That's always been my take on Valentine's Day too, right? Like it's a reminder to show love to the people that you love, even if you don't have to love them romantically, right? Reach out to
Yeah.
your moms, reach out to your pops, you know what I'm saying? Do something nice for whoever, you know what I'm saying?
Do something
That's
nice
what
for yourself. Do
big
something nice for
facts.
yourself, man. Like love on yourself, people, please.
Self love.
And self-love, man. Self-love, which is so difficult to do. Like self-love is very difficult to do because it's so continuous. You always are with yourself. But like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm speaking about me, right? That's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a way to love on myself.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to touch that one. What are some Valentine's Day hacks that we can give the people, man? So whether you're in a relationship or not, you can give some of those plans for self love that you may have, or what are some nice things that you can do, maybe especially on the inexpensive side. I know people's pockets is hurting. You got any ideas for the people?
Home cooked meal, man. Do something that you haven't done. Do something that you haven't done. Whatever it is that you've not done, go to a park. Go to a park. Go to a museum. Make her food. Picnic. Make him or her food. Who doesn't enjoy that? A good cooked meal. Dude, I'm single, dude. I don't know what you do.
But you're clearly a thoughtful dude, and I'm sure those are all great suggestions. So I appreciate you sharing them with the people. I'm always an advocate of getting to know the person you're with, man. Get to know your partner. Everybody, like each person brings something to the table, right? If y'all polyamorous, yeah, everybody, whoever is involved, bring something to the table, right? So like, create a list of questions. Favorite song right now, right? Bring a quote, either from something you're reading or something you love, right? And share these things, right? Uh, that's the type of stuff that I bring to the table.
That's dope.
Recipes, even, yeah,
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 yeah. Because you're big on communication. You're big on relationship communication. And you're someone that I speak to when it comes to my relationship situations and whatever the case is. That's why that's so fly when you say get to know your person better and introducing games. Is that something that you do? And like, what other ways of what other ways of connecting with your partner do you usually practice?
yeah. So as I mentioned, like we do the Zoom thing, it's a long distance thing. So we have to be, yeah, very intentful and about keeping, yeah, conversation like engaging. So we come up with games to ask each other questions. When we watch things together, right, especially like binge watch shows or whatever, we'll like look for opportunities to like pause it and be like, all right, bet, what do you think is going to happen? What do I think is going to happen? And we'll like bet something on it, you know what I mean, just to be like, all right, we'll see what's going to happen, right? Yeah, man, you
That's
just,
cute.
hey, man. Well, I can't take credit for most of these. You know what I'm saying? Or even the communication aspect of it, right? The relationship I'm in, my partner is just has elevated my level of communicating in a relationship in a huge way. So
Mhm.
yeah, man, I would say I'm big on anything that involves questions. I'm big on like, yo, your partner, like ask them like this isn't something, especially people over distance, like think of, but even in person, like ask your partner what they want you to wear, right? If y'all going on
Mm,
a date or whatever, let them pick out your outfit, right? Something like that.
interesting. Interesting. It seems, and that is like the basis of, they say, the bonding, conquering, going over challenges together and new experiences together and trying different things together is how you sustain a loving, long relationship, is what I'm told.
For sure, for sure. And finding out the things that y'all disagree on, right? You know, figure out who's a mountain person and who's a beach person, right?
Mm,
Who wants to
mm.
go hiking on vacation and who wants to chill. These are the things that you can figure out through questions, or you can figure out, you know, if y'all have the resources and the availability to do some of that stuff. Be intentional about it.
One of the things that kept on popping up over COVID, along with breakups, along with the breakup rate, and along with the rate of people that feel um, isolation and people that feel ostracized and that type of thing, is that actually the number of marriages, of weddings that are scheduled for 2022 is a lot higher than it was previously, right? And they say this is based on marriages that were pushed forward from 2020 and 2021 that were pushed forward into time. And that's something that we're seeing a lot of too. Off of that same time, we're also seeing divorce rates that are also going up. So clearly, this is a moment of people getting together and people getting away from each other as fast as they can on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in this, and it's a tumultuous time for relating to people, right? We're figuring out how to do that through technology. We're figuring out how to do that safely as like communities. Like again, after a weird time, like it's a tough time, right? And I think we'll develop different ways of communicating with each other. I hope, right, that bring us to a place where there's more understanding, right? Maybe the divorce rate goes down because fewer people decide to like get married. They decide there's another way of relating to people that works better for them. Or maybe relationships are just stronger, right? Or people get married later. Like I'm interested to see what the different data and statistics will show on, but I do think that we'll figure it out, even though it's a weird time right now.
Definitely. So the New York Times reports that 2.5 million weddings are expected in 2022, and this is the most since 1984. Majority are scheduled from 2020 and 2021. The rest are likely to be couples who became engaged during the pandemic. A lot of people got engaged during the pandemic. I wonder what the divorce rates are going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we look back at COVID weddings and COVID engagements.
Who knows, man? There's so many factors involved, right? There are people that might be getting married because they were together during lockdown. Like they first started getting together. Maybe they had recently moved in or were thinking about it, and they made that jump because we didn't know what was going to happen with the world. And through that situation, they found out that what they really want is to be together and that they work. And like, that's amazing. Maybe other people are looking at COVID and say, we don't know what's going to happen with the world. And so I want to get married and I want to make that happen now. And I want to have kids. And, so there's all sorts of super solid relationships that might be forming in a part of that 2.5 million. There's all sorts of maybe iffy relationships. That's just how life go. But to all of each and every one of y'all, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but wonder whether it's based on the fact that people feel alone, and so people are not compelled to run a little bit quickly into relationships and run into weddings. Obviously, time is subjective when it comes to these sorts of things, but there is no doubting that COVID has forced a lot of people to have to sit by themselves and really deal with whether the people that they with they enjoy or the people that they don't enjoy. There's some places in the Middle East that reported 60% divorce rates over the COVID period, right? So just looking at, just thinking about what it means going forward, especially when you still think that we're operating off of an old broken wedding, an old broken marriage contract, right? Because they say the history of weddings and the history of marriage is actually institution that can help compile property, assets, and labor. Those three things.
Hey man, you're preaching to the choir, buddy. Yeah, there's a conversation to be had about the question of like, why does the state need to be involved in my love? but there are also like strategic aspects of that, right? Getting married and, being able to pass on assets easier, being able to do things like joint bank accounts and stuff like that, because there's a legal record that reflects that this union is real and significant. And so, and yeah, I mean, a lot of people are relying on it for immigration. So there's not that they should have to, right? But that there's a lot. It's a complicated aspect of society that I'm with you, brother. We should rework and examine and take a look at and be more inclusive about in whatever version of it we keep.
Because my response to that would be, if it is in case the factor of compiling assets and shared bank accounts, then let's create an LLC for it. Let's create a CC for it. Let's create a PTY for it. Let's create trust accounts for it. There's more tools that can be utilized, especially in each of these respective areas, that one could enforce in order to even optimize the value that one gets back.
Yeah, imagine saying all that at the altar to your shorty, right? Like, yo, look at these tools that we've used to optimize the value, the ROI on what we're about to do.
It's still a contract that's being signed at the end of the day. We're still going to sign a contract. Do I want to sign a contract that I've worked on, that I understand, that we have together worked on to understand the perfect setup for us, or take this one size fits all contract that is statistically not working?
You, sir, are talking about a prenup.
But even a prenup, even a prenuptial agreement still does a very sloppy job at the separation of calculating the middle ground of it.
What if you write it? Not if you write it. Not if you and whoever's helping you understand the legal of it. You can write it. Like, I think there's a stigma and there's a connotation on prenup that is yeah. It has a sloppy, or that it's one-sided or whatever. But I think if you're talking about looking at what marriage is and making amendments to that, right? I think on an individual basis, what that looks like is a destigmatized version of a prenup. And my broader point is that there are words for like some of these things, that these tools in the marriage sense that are brought over from the business world, because it is a contract at the end of the day, but it's also something that we're socialized to think of as this big milestone in life, right? And people want that to feel romantic, and they want that to feel celebratory. And especially when you're like promising yourself to another person, you want that to be something that feels soulful and not something that feels as sterile as the signatures of like a boardroom and looking through papers, right? And so even if it's a bit silly, I think we've layered this system that, I agree, again, doesn't work and that we need to adjust, and it's archaic at this point. But you're a very practical person, and I just think in the realistic ways we address this, there's going to have to be some just allowance for romance, just for the sake of romance in this legal language, because that's what people want, man.
Yeah, and look, I'm all for going through the process and the celebratory and do the whole thing, except that contract. That contract is what scares me. You know what I mean? But you're right. Maybe there is more towards prenup that one can look into. But I do think that if it is in fact a matter of assets, if it's in fact a matter of tax incentives, and it is, because that's what the purpose of this contract is, there's better ways to be able to build it. And it would, I say this now, but again, there is the social value of being married, and the equivalence of being able to say you have a ring that has been ordained by the court. I get that, but different strokes for different folks.
Amen. If you want to propose with a PowerPoint presentation, I'd fully support you. Hey, you're loved, dude. Like, let them know.
Have you seen slide 3, baby? Have you seen slide 3, baby?
It's looking good. It's looking right. It's looking nice.
I'm definitely going to be speaking about trajectories at the engagement, for sure.